Imagine a caveman standing right in front of you, stronger, tougher, and built for survival. But did he actually have a bigger penis than modern men? Millions of people on the internet believe the answer is yes. But what if that famous belief is completely wrong? Because science tells a very different story. Most people assume bigger muscles meant bigger everything. But biology doesn't work that way. Scientists have never found proof that ancient humans had larger penises than modern humans. And the reason is surprisingly simple. Penises don't fossilize. Soft tissues disappear long before fossils can form. That means scientists can't directly measure them. So where did this myth come from? Part of it comes from movies and TV shows. Those stories often make cavemen look superhuman. But entertainment is not science. Ancient artwork can also be misleading. Artists sometimes exaggerated body parts for symbolic reasons. That doesn't mean those features were actually real. The truth is much less dramatic than the myth, and what scientists discovered next changes everything. If the myth isn't supported by science, then why has it survived for so long? Why fees? Because people often confuse strength with size. But the human body doesn't work that way. Being stronger doesn't automatically mean every body part is larger, and that's where the popular myth starts falling apart. The surprising truth is that ancient humans were remarkably similar to us, much more similar than most people imagine. Their bodies worked almost exactly the same way, and that's why scientists remain skeptical of these exaggerated claims. But the next discovery made the story even more surprising. Scientists compared ancient human skeletons with modern humans, and the results surprised everyone. Ancient humans were often stronger because survival demanded it. Every day was a fight for food, safety, and survival. But strength and reproductive anatomy are not the same thing. That's a mistake many people still make today. The human body evolves for survival, not for internet myths. And that's where the real story becomes fascinating. Because ancient humans faced dangers modern people rarely experience. Yet despite those challenges, they remained surprisingly similar to us. And the next fact might completely change how you see ancient humans. Here's where the story gets even more interesting. Ancient humans were not primitive animals. They were humans just like us. They laughed, learned, and cared about their families. Many myths make them seem completely different from modern people, but evidence tells a different story. The more scientists learn, the more similarities they find. And that includes many myths about the human body. The truth is usually less dramatic, but far more fascinating. And the biggest surprise is still coming. Many people imagine cavemen as giant, unstoppable warriors. But real ancient humans came in many different shapes and sizes, just like people today. Nature has always produced variation, and that's one reason broad claims are usually unreliable. Science prefers evidence over assumptions, and evidence simply doesn't support the myth. Instead, it points toward a much simpler answer. Ancient humans were human, and the final part of this story may surprise you the most. Here's the biggest misconception of all. People often imagine ancient humans as a completely different species, but in many ways, they were just people living in a harder world. They faced hunger, predators, and extreme weather. Yet they still laughed, loved, and raised families. That's why scientists focus on evidence, not assumptions. And the evidence keeps pointing to the same answer. There is simply no proof that ancient humans were larger in that way. The popular belief survives, mostly because it sounds interesting. But the truth is far more interesting than the myth. By now, you've probably realized something surprising. The ancient world wasn't filled with superhumans. It was filled with people adapting to survive. And that's what made them remarkable. Not because they were larger, but because they were resilient. Science continues to uncover new details every year. But on this question, the answer remains the same. There is no reliable evidence supporting the myth. And now it's time for the final conclusion. After all the myths, rumors, and assumptions, here's the truth. Scientists simply don't have evidence proving ancient humans were larger in that way. And without evidence, science doesn't make claim. That's what separates facts from internet stories. Ancient humans were amazing, but not for the reasons most people think. Their real superpower was adaptability. Their intelligence helped them survive impossible challenges, and that's why their story is still fascinating today. But there's one final fact you need to hear. The biggest lesson isn't about size at all. It's about how easily myths can spread, especially when they sound exciting. That's why evidence matters. And evidence is what science relies on. The best answer is often the simplest one. Ancient humans were humans. Remarkable, resilient, and surprisingly familiar. Mythical superhumans. Just people, living in a very different world. And now you know the truth.